Hi everyone and welcome to this next panel of the Galactic Imaginarium Film Festival, and I am very glad to say that this one is the first panel that will be screening an animation, and I do believe an exceptional one at that. Um, I'm talking, of course, of Clarence of Tomorrow, which you shall see in a short while. And I'm glad to announce that the director, the writer, and the producer of this short animation, Shawn Spear, is with us from the United States, I believe. Um, before um, Before we start screening, uh, Shawn, please introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a bit about your movie.
Okay, thank you very much, Crystal. I'd just like to say that I'm honored to be a part of this, and I wish I could be there for the in-person stuff. I believe there is in-person screenings. Maybe someday I'll get to go to Romania. My name is Shawn Spear. I live in Chicago, Illinois. This film was started about 8 years ago. It was sort of inspired by several things. Even though it's a strange science fiction film, there are a lot of personal things about it. So to me, it's a personal film. Um, and yeah, I hope you like it if you haven't seen it.
Um, uh, I'm sure they enjoyed it. I'm not sure if everyone has seen it. I have seen it, and that's why I was so generous with it, because it is
Well, thank you
truly
very much. Yeah.
amazing. I think that we should point out before streaming that this movie has had a budget of $2,000. Is that true?
Yeah, that is correct. I mean, it was just something I made in my spare time. Never had a chance. I didn't have a budget for it. I made it at the time I was living in, or at the time I started the film, I was living in a very small apartment in Chicago, and I would just use found objects and stuff I found in the alley, some art supplies like plastic and paint and stuff like that to build the sets. Um, and then I would just do everything, all of the animation and After Effects and Maya. But I spent a lot of time on it, but not very much money at all. So
Okay, all right. Then I'll start screening the movie. For those who want to see it, just go to my screen, and you shall see it there. It's about 12 minutes long, so I'll see you back in 12 minutes.
May I go to lunch now, Mr. Ward? Yes, Mr. Ward. Gosh, they all look pretty good. Which do you recommend?
Try again. Try again. Try again. Try again. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Gosh, I'd better get moving.
Two, two, five, one. 8105.
Help.
Exit immediately, exit immediately, exit immediately, exit immediately, exit immediately, exit immediately, exit immediately.
Please remain with your wellness kit at all times. Help is on the way. Please remain with your wellness kit at all times. Help is on the way. Return to your wellness unit at once. Help is on the way. Please remain with your wellness unit at all times. Help is on the way. disciplinary action. Clarence, report to my office immediately. Clarence. 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 Clarence.
Excellent. Now we're back after seeing this movie, and I hope it did not, bring everyone down, because it does end in a rebellion, and who knows what this rebellion will lead to from Clarence? Maybe the change, the utter change of this dystopian future. We may never know, but we can only hope. Um, so
Well put.
yeah. I will start the Q&A session. I will start first. I have a few questions for you about the movie and the story we have just seen, and I'm sure others will join afterwards. We have about at least 25 minutes to discuss the movie. So obviously, it's a futuristic parable about the struggles of the contemporary man, as far as I see it. We are caught and entangled in this world where we are not we do not have control anymore of our time, of our well-being, of our future, of our dreams and hopes. And I would like to ask you, why so bleak?
Why so bleak?
Why? Yes.
I think it's. I mean, again, I did this. I wrote this 8 years ago, and it was written about a period in my life, probably 5 years prior to that. So, I guess I was working in a job that I didn't like. I didn't have insurance. Wasn't making very much money. A lot of things that happened in the film happened to me. I got food poisoning. My credit was stolen, and I mean, eventually I climbed out of that hole, and things are much better now. But when I wrote it, that the pain of that period was still very much in my mind. And this is not a pain that's unique to me. You know, lots of people go through something similar situations. So I guess why so bleak? I think that's the best answer I have to that.
Yeah.
It was just
No, it makes total sense, and it makes it quite a personal story then, and quite a personal experience, and it gives it authenticity, because it comes from personal experience, but because
I'm sorry. A little
yes,
bit. Okay.
can you hear me?
I can't. It just sounds a little distorted, but you sound like Clarence's boss. So,
Maybe you could turn off your video, because you have your video turned on, and maybe that sort of scrambles the internet connection.
oh, okay, turn the video off.
Yeah. Okay, so can you hear me better?
Yes, much better. Yeah.
Excellent.
So I'm sorry. Could you repeat the last question?
Actually got to the question. I was just saying that the fact that it's a personal story, and it involves so much of your past experience, gives it authenticity, and that is probably why It's so powerful. One of the participants has wrote to me, was writing to me in private, telling me that this is probably the most depressing film she has seen to this day. But that at the same time, it's quite powerful and intense. And I guess the authenticity and the fact that it's so powerful gives it universality. A lot of people have, if not all of the people, have gone through something similar at one point in their lives. Even though maybe it's not as specific as Clarence's troubles, but it's the same thing. You know, we have problems at jobs, with our jobs,
Right.
at home, in our personal life. So this is where its power lies. Um, and now I'm going to get to the question, and I'm sort
Uh-huh.
of going to move on from the story to the production value, which is surprising, knowing that it's mostly, you know, your work there for years and years, with almost no budget, because it looks quite good, and
Oh,
you can
thank you.
sense that, or you can see that there's animation overlaid with sets, real sets, which have been filmed and then
Mhm.
processed. So please tell us a bit about this sort of type of animation, and the work process it involves. What does it take to build such a, to, you know, to produce such an animation?
Okay, well, um, what I did was, first of all, I made an animatic, which is sort of like you probably know, it's like a storyboard, but animated. So it's a rough animation, hand drawn, um, where I just, well, even before that, I made a list of all of the shots that I wanted to tell the story, and then I did a rough drawing of each of those shots, and then animated them roughly to create the animatic. And once I had that complete, I just thought about the world that he inhabits, and which to me was the most fun part of the entire experience, was creating this world. Because to me, it's the world is, it is depressing, like your friend said, but it's also, my hope is that it's also strangely beautiful. And I mean, it's a combination of disgusting and possibly beautiful and mysterious. Um, so what I wanted to do is make sets that look like, at one point in this world, this was a very, very nice place, right? So the food court looks as though it's something you might find in Disneyland or something. It's the the I guess I'm having trouble expressing how, but it looks like a lot of thought was put into, whoever created this world. A lot of thought was put into the aesthetics of it, right? It was like, the idea was to create a mood or an atmosphere, and then at some point, it all got neglected, and it turned um, sort of shabby, and nobody cleaned up, and it just sort of fell apart. So again, combining those two ideas of something that is beautiful, possibly mysterious, and disgusting, and then combining those things. So I knew that's what I wanted to create. So then once I had that aesthetic worked out, I do a rough sketch of what the set would look like. So for example, in the food court, I knew that I wanted it to look like a mouth, right? The inside of a mouth. So there's a tongue on the floor. Those panels on the walls look like teeth. There's a uvula, the throat in the back of the room. So it's like Clarence is sitting in the mouth of this rabbit hole that he's about to get swallowed into. So I did a rough drawing of that, and then I just built the set with whatever materials I had available to me. As I said, I didn't have a lot of money, so I would try to get them cheaply, and that often involved going to secondhand stores, going to just wandering alleys and seeing what kind of stuff I could find, and then when I did have a little bit of money, I would go to an art supply store, and just buy whatever I could. But I'd say most of the good materials that I got were from secondhand stores or junk stores or alleys. And then even though I had a rough sketch or a rough idea of what the setting would look like, the materials that I obtained often dictated what the set would ultimately look like, right? So I had to improvise, or I had to stay flexible because I didn't have a budget. I had to stay flexible and create something out of the things I could find. So I guess what I'm trying to say is my budget dictated the look as much as anything else. So once I had all of the sets created, then it was just a matter of lighting them and photographing them. So I would try to use a wide angle lens for most of the sets, just because I felt it made it look more expansive. And I shot the sets from each of the angles that I needed. And then once I did that, I did some post work on it. So I would adjust the lighting here and there in post, meaning in After Effects or a compositing program. And sometimes there were parts of the set that were, kind of broken or didn't look the way I wanted to, so I would adjust them a little bit with Photoshop. And then once I had all of the sets photographed and all of the angles of the sets, then I started working on Clarence. And I just wanted him to be very bland and generic, just an everyman who really has no outstanding characteristics. And so I just kind of designed him around that. He's the animation of Clarence himself is vector. It's vector graphics that I created in Illustrator and then imported into After Effects, and then created sort of a rig or a puppet using After Effects. And then once I had his animation roughly done for a shot, for example, I would import him into After Effects, put him up against the photograph of the set, and then build the foreground elements of the set around him. So for example, with the, no, I'm sorry, actually I didn't do that. I put him in the set, and then I'd have to crop him out. Like, for example, when he's sitting in the food court at the table eating, I just have to crop out the lower half of his body, for example, when we see him sitting at the table, so it looks like he's behind the table. So after I did that, and I had him animating, or I did the animation and had him acting within the scene, I would go back to the character animation and adjust it further to make it seem like he's actually interacting with the set around him. And then one of my favorite parts was adjusting the lighting and the coloring and shadow to make it look like he actually inhabited that that practical space. So compositing, in other words. And then once I did that, the shot was nearly complete. I kept on making adjustments to all of the shots up until the very end, probably right up until I submitted the screener for your program. Oh yeah, and then of course in some situations I needed 3D, virtual 3D props, for lack of a better word. So I would 3D model them in a program called Maya, and light and shade them to look as though they're occupying the photograph or the set of that that Clarence occupies. And then I would have to animate those as well. And then I would import those animations into After Effects. And then in some cases, there was stop motion. So I would use a program called Dragon Frame to film the stop motion, and just stick it all together and hope that it worked. I hope that made sense. It's very early here, and I'm not quite awake yet. But
no, it did, and it's very interesting, especially for those who are listening and are interested in movie techniques, and those who will be listening to the recording, because this the Galactic Imaginarium Film Festival and its listeners and its followers should it's intended for those who are also interested in technique. And as far as I gather, technique here
Okay.
sort of came as a symmetry to the idea of the movie, which is it's an exercise in aesthetics, and it builds on contrasts. Because you have all these, it's disgusting and it's dystopic, and at the same time you have Clarence, who, even though he is the everyman, because he is the everyman, he should be, the beautiful part of the movie. As he is swallowed up by the horrors of his world and spat up, and though this happens in the end, he rebels, which is it sort of resembles the story, because we have a dystopic world here of 1984, where Winston Smith tries to do the same thing, tries to get away from the system, not be just a cog and a puppet, being, controlled and engineered. But unfortunately, there he does not manage to escape, while maybe
Right.
Clarence
And
does.
yeah, it's interesting you say 1984 because I do. Well, I love the book, but I also love the movie that came out in 1984. And a lot of, I think unconsciously, I borrowed a lot of the aesthetic from 1984. That sort of Art Deco look. Well, my film doesn't really have an Art Deco look, but 1984 has this sort of communist Art Deco and brutalist look, but it's also covered in filth, right? So I think I borrowed from that. Also, in 1984, you're right, things don't work out so well for poor John Smith. I tried to be a little bit more upbeat in my movie because I think at its core, my movie has a theme of transcending through adversity. I strongly believe that life's adversities can make you a stronger person if you're able to overcome them. And I think I didn't go into making the movie with that theme in mind, but I think that's the theme that eventually materialized as I started to wrap it up.
And I think this
So
happens because, you know, there's a perenniety in 1984, and it sort of speaks to the struggle of men in any sort of system which is anti-humanist, as your world is, and as our world is in certain aspects. I believe we
very,
have a
very
few
well
minutes
put.
left. Thank you. Maybe there's questions from the audience. Please, if there are any questions, ask them directly to the director.
Hi, I'm Cherry. It's such a pleasure to meet you. I just want to say I'm amazed by your movie. It was
Thank you.
amazing
Thank
to
you so
watch
much.
it. And initially, I didn't know how long it's gonna be, so I kept expecting him to die. This is the end. Uh, I do have some questions about the world that he was living in. Seemed uh, very interesting. And that there was at some point there was a a picture of a woman called Clara, something like that. Is
Uh-huh.
there
Clara,
more?
yeah.
That woman is
I'm sorry. I think you cut off, Carrie. What was your question?
oh I was just wondering who she is.
Oh, who she is? Um, she's not. Well, she's not really based on anyone in my life. I think basically she's a catalyst for Clarence, to give him some hope or something to strive for. Um, I don't even know that she's a real character. I don't know. She might be a figment of his imagination, but it really doesn't matter. She's a catalyst or something that pushes him to want to transcend above the miserable world that he lives in. And um,
And I was also wondering, where is everyone? What happened to
what
everyone?
happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know. I just, again, I'm not sure that people. You think I would know this since I wrote it and directed it, but I just sort of following my gut here, and my gut told me
Yeah.
not to have any characters, any other characters. It's just a way to show his loneliness,
Yeah.
and sort of help to illustrate how sad and desperate or despondent he is, and
Yeah.
how refreshing and wonderful it is to see another human being. Um, I sort of retroactively came up with ideas of where everybody went, but it's not important. It's not important to. I would prefer that the viewer just sort of make up their own mind about that, if you're so inclined. So,
Well, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Thank you for answering
oh,
the question.
thank you so much. Yeah, it's just in terms of the world. I feel like it's worth noting that a lot of it is based on a series of recurring dreams that I've had, where I'm living in a strange house that I recognize is my own house, but it's unfamiliar to me. And I find a room in it that I didn't know existed. And in that room, everything is has a very 70s, 1970s American decor. So there's a lot of, avocado greens, and the earth color is brown, orange. Some of the colors that you see in Clarence. And it's also kind of filthy in this room. There's dirt everywhere, and there's stuff dripping from the walls. And there's something. This dream to me was so. It was creepy. It was mysterious. It was awe-inspiring. It was all of these things all at once, and it was so intense that it left a lasting impression on me. And I've had variations of that dream several times since. But that feeling that I got from that dream is what I was trying to capture in this world. I don't know that I was successful, but the pursuit of it was meaningful to me.
Oh, definitely. Sorry, definitely. You can really tell that the architecture and the environment felt really retro. Exactly.
Yeah.
I
Um,
thought they were very well put together. It made sense. Just had it felt like it makes together.
oh, thank you so much, Carrie. I appreciate it.
All right, are there any other questions? Okay then. Well, this concludes our Q&A session to this gorgeous and evocative movie, which can even though it's short, it has only about 12 minutes. It can pack a punch, and I do hope a lot of people see it. A lot of people discuss on its meanings, on its aesthetics, because I think it's well deserved that things should happen like this. Thank you, Shawn, for this
Thank
opportunity,
you,
and thank you for
Cristian.
being with us to discuss this. I will say it, and I mean it in full signification, a work of art.
Oh, wow. You're too kind. Thank you so much. That means a lot. It really does mean a lot to me. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to, first of all, accepting it into your festival, and then allowing me to talk about it. And it means a lot to me that you like it. So it's not a movie for everyone, but I hope the right people find it and like it. So thank you so much.
I'm sure that even if it's not for everyone, the right people will see it. Great and well-made and talented products find a way to reach the right people and maybe change their lives. We shall see. You shall see. I hope everyone listening and everyone which will watch the recording afterwards find Shawn, find his movie, and help out in this great search of artists and creators to discuss and try to figure out the meaning of why we're here and what the hell is happening with our lives. Thank you all for participating, and we will see you in 10 minutes to the next panel. Again,
Shawn,
thank you all, and
yeah,
thank you, Shawn.
Shawn,
Yes.
I will have one more question. Where can I find your movie? And how do I recommend
Oh,
it?
Yeah, if well, right now I'm keeping it offline because I'm still submitting it to festivals. But eventually, I will have it on my Vimeo page. I can post my video page in the comments section here. Let's see, and it's not. I mean, it won't be there for a few months, but I will eventually put it on my Vimeo page.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you. Wishing you the
Okay.
best of luck.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been great. Thank you so much, guys.
It's really a work of art. Really, it's wonderful. So I hope it
Oh,
wins.
thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.